August 24th, in the year 79 AD, the people of Pompeii woke up to another beautiful morning. The sun was shining, the markets were busy, children played in the streets, but something was very wrong. For 2 whole days, the earth had been shaking. Small earthquakes hit the city again and again. The mountain that stood behind the city was sending up clouds of smoke. The smoke was gray and thick. Animals were acting strange. Dogs were barking without stopping. Birds were flying away from the mountain. Horses refused to stay calm. Even the sea was behaving oddly. Fish were swimming away from the shore. The water was warmer than normal. Nature was screaming a warning. But the leaders of Pompeii did not listen. They had lived near this mountain for hundreds of years. Nothing bad had ever happened. They thought this time would be the same. They were so wrong. In this video, AI-generated visuals are used to imagine the past. AI makes it possible to see history more clearly. These images help us understand Pompeii, everyday life, and the events of that tragic day. Pompeii was not just any city. It was one of the most beautiful and rich cities in the entire Roman Empire. 20,000 people lived there. The streets were paved with stone. Fresh water flowed through pipes to every house. The city had everything. There were bathhouses where people relaxed in warm water. There were theaters where actors performed plays. There was a huge arena where gladiators fought. The Forum, the city center, was decorated with marble statues. Rich Romans built vacation homes in Pompeii because the weather was so nice. The soil around the mountain was perfect for growing grapes. Pompeii made some of the best wine in all of Italy. The city was so close to the sea that fresh fish came to the markets every morning. Merchants from all over the Mediterranean came to trade. Gold, silk, spices, and jewels filled the shops. The wealthy families of Pompeii lived in houses with beautiful gardens and painted walls. Their floors were covered with mosaics made from thousands of tiny colored stones. Some houses even had their own private swimming pools. Life in Pompeii was good, maybe too good. The people had become comfortable. They had become careless. They forgot that nature does not care about human wealth. Pompeii was run by rich men. These men were called magistrates. They made all the important decisions for the city. Many of them owned the big houses. They owned the wine farms. They owned the shops. They had money and power. But they did not have wisdom. 17 years before, in the year 62 AD, a terrible earthquake had hit Pompeii. Buildings fell down. People died. The city spent years rebuilding. Some buildings were still not finished by 79 AD. That earthquake should have been a lesson. It should have taught the leaders that the ground under Pompeii was dangerous, but they forgot. Or maybe they chose to forget. When the shaking started again in August of 79 AD, some people wanted to leave. They asked the magistrates what to do. Should we take our families and go? Should we close the city? The leaders said no. They told people to stay calm. They said everything was fine. Why did they say this? Because leaving would hurt business. If people ran away, the markets would close, the wine would not sell, the tourist money would stop. The leaders cared more about their profits than about people's lives. They held their dinner parties, they went to the bathhouse, they visited the theater. They acted like nothing was wrong. This was their greatest betrayal. They had the power to save lives. They chose not to use it. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Mount Vesuvius exploded. The sound was louder than thunder. It was louder than anything the Romans had ever heard. The top of the mountain blew apart. A column of ash and rock shot into the sky. It went up 20 miles high. 20 miles! That is 3 times higher than airplanes fly today. The column was so big it blocked out the sun. In the middle of the day, Pompeii became dark as night. Then the ash started to fall. At first, it fell like gray snow. People thought they could wait it out inside their houses, but the ash kept coming. It fell for hours. It piled up in the streets, 1 inch, then 6 inches, then 1 foot, then 3 feet. The weight of the ash made roofs collapse. People were trapped inside their homes. Some people tried to run. They covered their faces with cloth. They pushed through the falling ash, but it was too late. The ash was too thick to breathe through. It filled their lungs. They fell down in the streets. Their bodies were buried where they fell. By nighttime, 6 feet of ash covered Pompeii. But the worst was still coming. Inside the mountain, the temperature was rising. Gas and rock were mixing together. The pressure was building. At around midnight, the mountain released something called a pyroclastic surge. This is a cloud of gas and rock that is heated to 300 degrees Celsius. That is hot enough to boil water instantly. This deadly cloud raced down the mountain at 100 miles per hour. Nothing could stop it. It hit Pompeii in less than 4 minutes. Everyone who was still alive died instantly. The heat was so intense that people's brains boiled inside their skulls. Their muscles contracted so fast that their bodies froze in position. A mother died while holding her child. A man died while covering his face. A dog died while chained to a post, trying to break free. By morning, Pompeii was gone. 20 feet of ash and rock buried the entire city. 2,000 people were dead. The beautiful city had become a tomb. After the eruption, survivors from nearby towns came to look at the damage. They could not believe what they saw. The mountain had changed shape. The top was gone. Where Pompeii once stood, there was only gray wasteland. Some people tried to dig through the ash to find their homes. They wanted to save their belongings. A few tunnels were dug. Some valuable statues and jewelry were pulled out, but most of the city stayed buried. It was too deep, too dangerous, too sad. Within a few years, grass started growing over the ash. Trees began to sprout. Nature covered the disaster. People built new towns nearby, but they built them farther from the mountain. They did not build on top of Pompeii. Over the decades, people forgot exactly where Pompeii had been. The name remained in old books and maps, but the city itself disappeared from memory. 100 years passed, then 200, then 500, then 1,000. Pompeii slept under the earth. The houses were still there, the streets were still there, the bodies were still there, frozen in their final moments. The ash had created a perfect seal. It kept out air and water. Everything was preserved exactly as it had been on that terrible day. For over 1,600 years, Pompeii remained hidden, a ghost city waiting to be found. In 1748, workers accidentally rediscovered Pompeii, finding a city frozen in time, with bread still in ovens and art on the walls. But the most haunting discovery came later. Archaeologist Giuseppe Fiorelli realized the ash had hardened around the victims, leaving hollow voids. By filling them with plaster, he revealed their final moments: a man shielding his face, a dog in agony, a couple embracing. These casts remind us that they were real people, betrayed by leaders who chose profit over safety. Today, Vesuvius remains active near 3 million people. We have modern science now, but the frozen figures of Pompeii leave us with a timeless warning. Nature always wins, and it does not give second chances. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, please consider subscribing to the channel. More forgotten stories are waiting.